Merry meet, Annie here. This video for This Witch's Way is a response to a lot of questions I got when I was sharing a little bit about my Book of Shadows and I talked a bit about moons. Oh, the pleasure of being able to talk about moons. One of the fascinating things about being on YouTube is when you think about what can I share and what would be of interest and not just be something that someone's seen on a million other videos. I never thought to do a video on moons, and never stopped to think that my take on them might be a little bit different than what some of my friends here have as their experience or what they've been taught. So the first thing is, when I did the video on my Book of Shadows, I showed the page where for each turning of the elemental tide of the year, I list the holidays and the dates of the moons. It's just so I have my plan in my head and the flow of the dates in my head. And that's just a way I set up like the cycle to get myself ready for it. And in that process, I list the holidays I'll be celebrating in that cycle and the moons. And I mentioned in that I make a note of the full moons. And I mentioned in that I make a note of the full and the dark moons. And also that I make a note of the blue and the black moons. And I found that most people were not familiar with the idea of a black moon, although most, I think, were familiar with the idea of a blue moon. So to start off, a little bit about blue and black moons. I celebrate full and dark moons. I'm not a new moon person. All the energy I need for manifestation I take out of the full moon. I really enjoy the total balance of full and dark. So the concept of a new moon is not something that I celebrated in my first circles. We always, without fail, gathered on the full and the dark of the moon and on the holidays. And then there were blue moons. Now there's lots of ways that different traditions and those who work with astrology even, or meteorology, the term blue moon can mean a lot of different things. It can mean the 13th moon in the year, if we're working off of a calendar year. And it can mean the third full moon in a season that has 4 full moons. It can also be the second full moon in a month, and that's what it is for me. Now, a blue moon to me is nothing more than a magnified full moon. I'm going to share a little bit as I tape this video going forward about what I do for each moon. Now, for the full and the blue moons, I don't worship a particular specific goddess. They, to me, are reserved for the goddess of the Wicca. So it is everything that Goddess has come to mean to me, everything in all of her phases and aspects, and very much who she is in me. So the full and the blue moons. The full moon, manifestation work, positive energy, accomplishing things, getting things done, being inspired by and taking action. And the blue moon, if there's 2 full moons in a month, it's the same magnified very much to me about work that simply must be done. It's a get her done kind of a moon, that blue moon. The dark moon to me. The dark moon to me is divination. It is when I spend time with Sophia in divination. And for the dark moon, I work with the energies of Lilith. Lilith in the dark moon is because in my early feminist spirituality days, in my Dianist days, Lilith took on a meaning of personal empowerment that came from deep knowing, deep inner knowing, the personal energy within that you only know in the shadow. So dark moon to me, I do work with the energy of Lilith. Black moon. Black moon to me is if there is 2 dark moons in a month. So the second one is a black moon. Now, the black moon does have a lot of meanings to the traditions that celebrate it. It is also known in the meteorology sense as the black moon, the second dark moon in a month. And like the blue moon, there also are other descriptions of what a dark moon might be, including, similar to the blue moon, full moon aspect, is if there are 4 dark moons in a seasonal cycle, it is the 3rd of those dark moons. But to me, it has always been, if there is a second dark moon in a month, it is the black moon. Astrology knows that moon also as the Lilith moon. It might be called the Black Moon Lilith or the Black Lilith Moon, but it has very, very powerful meaning to a lot of astrologers. And to me, it is all about the difference of dark moon is dark moon to me takes on some aspects of, say, Nuit, that kind of aspect of the overarchingness of night with stars. So there is no moon, but there is not the sense of dark without having those pinpricks, those sparks, those sense of who you are in relationship to the stars that you can see. So it's about the night, not about the moon in the night, but about the night. That's the energy of dark moon for me. So along comes the black moon. Black moon to me is very much about darkness. The night not even lit by stars. The absolute blackness. The absolute depth of shadow. When my group celebrated when black moons came around, this is my first group, we did ritual in total silence. And to this day, that is how I take ritual on the black of the moon. Silent ritual. I love it when a black moon comes around. Black moon to me is facing your fears. Now I know a lot of people look at the dark moon that way, but the dark moon to me is about the night sky and the beauty of the night sky and that sense of belonging. Black moon to me is about a distancing and a separation and a withdrawing into the womb and the cave and the absolute, whatever is darkness, whatever does not have any glittering of another light, something outside or something to look at or aim towards. It is darkness, absolute black. So I do my rituals on the black of the moon in silence. My first circle did something I loved, and I brought it to one of my later circles, and we took it on as a habit too, that when we did our black moon rites, we did them facing outwards. And what it did to us in circle, where you're so used to being together, facing inwards, holding hands, dancing the circle together, everything to the center. By taking everything where you took your body, faced outwards, you knew your brothers and sisters were around you, but you were on your own, very much on your own. And that's how it began, and that's how it ended. We entered in silence. There was no talk entering the Covenstead. There was no celebration afterwards. We simply came in silence. The ritual was in silence, and we left in silence. And to this day, that's how at the personal level I celebrate the black of the moon, which is in silence. Definitely inner work. It is a place where I can acknowledge shadow. I can acknowledge anger and frustration and feelings of disconnection, all those things which sometimes go unacknowledged, that are the kind of the black smoke that moves within our being and our psyche. Sometimes I raise up out of a black moon in justifiable, what I call righteous anger, knowing that there's something I must do that I have not been doing because I'm not facing the fact I just need the emotional energy to do it. The difference of the dark and the black moon to me is that the dark moon is very much about the pinpricks of the pinpricks of light that you look towards. It's almost a waiting and knowing that there's about to be change. The black of the moon to me is about, this is what it is, this pit, this darkness, this thing which has swallowed me up is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I need to embrace that sometimes this is what it is, and the power that comes out of that, the absolute power that comes out of that darkness, blackness. While I use Lilith for my dark moon energy, I use Anat for my black moon energy. What I have done for that is I've gone back to the even more primal, more ancient roots of who Lilith became, back to Anat, who just deals with things and gets things done and takes no prisoners and understands the power of righteous anger, of doing things that need to be done. Anat, to me, is Anana. She's Hecate, but the reason why I don't use Hecate for either dark or black moon is I wanted a goddess that I could focus more purely on the aspect of darkness within them. Hecate to me is very much all of the aspects of Maiden, Mother, and Crone that are within her. She is more akin to me to the goddess of the Wicca, where the goddesses I wanted to choose to work with on the dark moon and the black moon, I wanted very specific, almost pure essences of what they meant to me. And I don't mean when I work with Lilith or when I work with Anat that there aren't many other aspects of who they are, but there are specific aspects of them that I came to relate to over my time of working with the moons. So I think I'm going to do a second video that will talk about the moons of the year and how I look at them. But this gave you an idea then of what a full, dark, blue, and black moon is to me. And for the full and the blue moon, I work with the goddess of the Wicca. And for the dark moon, I work with Lilith. And for the black moon, it is Anat. I hope you found that of interest. I wish you mirth and reverence. Merry part.